Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I haven't put any videos on here in a while, so we're doing something new. If you hear any strange noises, it's my cats. So let's get to it. This is the look we're going to be creating today. It's a kind of pink look. It's really cute though. Here we're starting off with the e.l.f. Poreless Primer. Be aware that this primer does smell a little bit like plastic, but it does the job of making your skin really smooth before putting on your foundation. Next, we're going to be using a combination of the IT Cosmetics CC Cream and the Tarte Amazonian Clay Foundation. I like these two mixed together because they do create a really nice finish on my skin and they sit pretty well. My Tarte foundation is actually a little bit too light for my skin right now, and the IT Cosmetics one is a little bit too dark, so mixing them together was really the choice to make the perfect color. Here we're just blending out those foundations. I am using a Morphe brush. I do not recall the number, but I did get it at Ulta for pretty cheap, and this is the first Morphe brush I've ever owned, and I was actually very pleased with it. Next, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Age Rewind Eraser Concealer. I kind of like this concealer. It's not super heavy, but it's also got a good coverage on it. There's my cats. And I'm just going to use that where I feel like I need a little more coverage, or I just wanted to kind of like highlight some of those points in my face to make them a little bit brighter. Here I'm using the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil Powder. I've been using this for a long time and I do really enjoy it. I'm using it all over my face to create a matte look because I'm a matte gal. I do not feel like this powder has any color to it whatsoever, even though this is one of the lighter fair shades. But I've noticed that whenever I put it over darker foundations, like in the summer when I'm tan, it doesn't really leave a cast of any kind on my skin, but I'm not going to complain because I can use it year round. Here we're just using the Tarte Pro Glow palette. I'm using the shade Sculpt to kind of go ahead and contour my face, using that in the hollows of my cheeks, kind of around my temples, and I'm going to also use it to kind of add some more depth to my face around my hairline, just to make me look like I'm not so ghostly white like I really am. Here we're just using that same shade over our double chin, get rid of that, and we're also going to be using this same shade on our nose to give ourselves a little bit more definition. Here I'm just going to be using that powder from earlier just to go up under my eyes to really pack it on because we are using Urban Decay shadows today and those do produce a lot of fallout. For eye primer, I'm going to be using the one from Urban Decay. This is the original one. I just take it on my ring fingers and apply it all over my lid. Moving on to the brows, I'm just brushing them out before applying this Ulta Brow Gel in the shade Soft Brown just to kind of get everything to lay down nicely before we go in with my ABH pencil that is in the shade Auburn to kind of define everything and give it a nice shape. Urban Decay Elements palette. I'm using the shade Antidote as a transition shade in my crease and really high up in that crease as well to kind of make it so that there is a base down so that our shades blend out better later on. Now I'm going in with the Naked Cherry palette in the shade Feels to go ahead and start deepening up that crease. This will not be as dark as it will be, it'll actually be a little bit darker than this, but this shade really lays down nicely to kind of set a foundation for the rest of it. Next, I'm using the shade Devilish to continue deepening up that crease. I will be taking this shade and concentrating it mostly on the outer half of my eye. However, I am still dragging some of that color towards the inner half of my eye, but I am really concentrating it on the outer part. Here I'm taking the Urban Decay Ultimate Basics palette and using the shade Lethal to really deepen up the outer part of my crease, just probably about the outer 1/3 of it. If you don't have this palette and you are trying to make this look using pretty much only the Cherry palette, you could use the shade Privacy. I really like this color a little bit more because it had more of a purple undertone to it, whereas the one in the Cherry palette does have a little bit more of a brown tint to it instead. Here I'm just going back in with the shade Feels just to try to blend everything out and make it a little bit more of a blown out look and not be so harsh on the edges. Going back into the Basics palette, I'm using the shade Commando to go over the lid part of my eye. I'm using this as a base for shimmer shades we will be using later on in the look. If you only have the Cherry palette though, you could use the shade Caution towards the front of the palette and that should do just fine. Here I'm just wetting my brush with some rose water spray that I have that I really love, and I'm going to be using the shade Electric Air from the Urban Decay Elements palette. I'm going to use this on my lid just to give me a little bit of a pop and to kind of make it that soft glam kind of look. If you have only the Cherry palette, you could use the shade Bang Bang, or you could use Turn On. I think both of those would look really good as alternatives for this if you don't have all of these palettes. Here I'm using the shade Hot Spot from the Urban Decay Cherry palette just to go over my brow bone to kind of lighten it up a little bit and to make it pop a little bit more. I feel like this look needs to be softened up a little bit more, so I am taking some of that shade Lethal and putting it on with my finger and just really blending it into that shimmer shade that we have to make it a really seamless transition. Using the shade Feels from the Cherry palette, I'm just going to brush that under my eye, just below my lower lash line to give it a more blown out look as well, and to kind of soften up the whole look and bring it all together. On a damp brush, I am taking the shade Turn On from the Cherry palette and applying that to the inner corner of my eye to add a little bit more brightness to the look. Next, I'll be using the Kat Von D Tattoo Liner in the shade Trooper. I've been using this liner for a very long time. Anytime I've tried to switch to another liquid liner, I always end up coming back to this one because of how well it performs with its longevity and how easy it is to apply. It's pretty great for any of you that are out there that are beginning to try to do a winged liner. Here I'm using Urban Decay's Lovesick to go on my waterline. This is a little bit different for me because I typically use a black shade for my waterline. For example, I really love Urban Decay's Perversion liner. It stays so long and is so pigmented, but I thought this would be cute and I actually ended up liking it a lot. Here I'm just dusting off that powder that we used earlier so that it's not sitting on our face, and I'm taking the shade Warmth from Bare Minerals and applying that to my cheeks. I really like this shade because it does give me a little bit of a sun-kissed kind of look. I wanted a little bit more color on my cheeks, so I did take the Kat Von D blush in the shade Port Vita and went over top of that original shade. I don't typically use highlighter, but I am using the Lit color from the Tarte Pro Glow palette just to kind of give myself a little bit of brightness on my cheeks, over top of the bridge of my nose, on my cupid's bow, and on the very top part of my brow bone. Here we're using a Medieval torture device called a lash curler to curl our lashes upwards to the heavens, and then we're going to be taking this L'Oreal Voluminous Lash Primer and applying that all over our lashes to set a base for our mascara. Here I'm also using the Benefit Roller Lash Mascara. I am using the black shade that they have. They do have a brown shade if you prefer brown lashes. I just prefer black mascara. Next we are taking the Maybelline Volume Express, the Colossal Cat Eye Mascara. This one is waterproof, and I will be going over that original mascara we used and also putting this on the bottom to make it a fully waterproof mascara look. Here I'm taking the Kat Von D liquid lipstick in the shade Lovecraft and applying that all over my lips. This was the perfect lipstick for this look because it is a very soft dusty pink shade, kind of like the Naked Cherry palette. I do have a Naked Cherry lipstick, however I only have the darkest one that they made, and it just did not seem like it would fit very well with this look. I wanted some more dimension in my lips, so I did use the shade Hawkwind on the outer corners and then blended that towards the middle. It kind of made a little bit of an ombre effect, but nothing too wild. Alright friends, this is the finished look. I really like how it turned out. I've tried doing similar looks to this before, it just didn't really sit right with me, but this one ended up being pretty perfect. I apologize for the different lighting. It took me way too long to do my hair, so we ended up having to use the flash from my phone, and that's not great. But leave a comment down below of what you would like to see in the future, and go ahead and make sure you like and subscribe. I thank you all for being here, and I'll see you next time.